A big part of community support for music education comes from our important NAMM members who are retail members in communities all around the country that have very, very direct relationships with school districts that help them with instruments, instrument repair, music for contests, for performances, and are also part of a community in terms of growing and sustaining support for programs. So we're just thrilled to have with us Meyer Music, the Meyer family. Please join us, Ted and Betty, the founders, along with Tom, Mike, and Missy. Please join me on stage. Be careful. We've got some music stands, but you've seen those before. I know you're not afraid of a music stand or two. Yeah, lots of music stands. Please join us. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So here we have a family. Are we all okay?
Yes.
Family music store, 48 years from Blue Springs, Missouri, right? And you were the music teacher, right, yes. Betty? So tell me about your, I think we need grab a mic. Tell us about your life as a music teacher and how this music store got started.
Well, I decided when I finished college that I was going to be a music teacher and had majored to be an instrumental music teacher. And there was a little town called Blue Springs, which was very small at that time. So I started teaching, and I stayed with teaching there 3 years, and then finished a master's degree and went to Kansas City, Missouri, where they paid more money, and taught for about 12 years. And then one day when we were coming home from school, we decided Mr. Meyer was a bookkeeping and history teacher.
In the same school district?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we rode together. So that's how the music store started.
Oh my goodness. Ted, do you have the same story?
It's pretty much the same story.
Right.
We had a little trouble getting financing. We did find a gentleman that we had rented from in the past, and he agreed to loan us $6,000. And so we started, and we've stayed focused on the three things that we do the best. We teach a lot of music lessons. We teach a lot of kids to play band and orchestra instruments, and we rent those instruments to them. Mm-hmm. And then Mrs. Meyer has her master's degree in piano, and she sells a lot of pianos. And so I think part of our success at the thing has been we stayed with what we knew what to do and didn't vary into a lot of other fields.
And you stayed really committed to your community. You were in the
Right.
community for a long
Right.
long time. So 48 years ago, what's been different, new about in the last 10 years as opposed to the first 10 years before all these great children got involved in the business too?
Well, the first several years we weren't able to eat.
Just
that
like
makes a lot of
many
difference.
starving musicians that we know, right? Right.
But I think that just the fact that we stayed with it and we had a plan and we stayed with it, and the kids have been a huge help to us, the programs that they brought along. So it's all fit together.
So to any of you, founder or children, what is the relationship with the schools and the community? Tell us how that works. How does a school music retailer relate to its school music program?
Well, like a lot of other school music dealers throughout the country, we provide service on a weekly basis. We have 7 educational reps that call on every school district. We cover an area from Lawrence, Kansas to mid-Missouri and go south and north of Kansas City quite a ways. And we provide that service. We provide repair. And then, of course, when we go to those schools and do their beginning band and orchestra rental programs, then in addition to doing that, then there's the weekly service on top of that year-round.
This is the ultimate synergy that we often don't see, between a music teacher and a retailer that is sort of coming, with a van every week and taking an instrument that's broken and replacing it with a loaner and going to get and bringing it back and carrying the valve oil back and forth so that teacher can stay, focused on the students and the needs. Has that been the heart and soul of your work with schools throughout the whole region? It sounds like it is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a partnership, and our educators know that certainly we are in business to make a profit, but we have continued to give a tremendous amount back to them in support, and we view it as a partnership, and I believe that they count on us to do that too.
So how has music education changed in the lifetime of the store? I'd love to hear from in the first 20 years. Did this school relationship exist at the very beginning? The rental programs?
We didn't. We always had the rental program, but it wasn't very big. We didn't do very much until the 3 children got into it, and then it made a huge difference. They had the energy to do it. We had the background and a good reputation, and they had the energy to do it. And that's when it really took off.
Well, there was 2,500 people in this town when we started. So needless to say, the band teacher would get most of those kids into the band. So if you have an educator that is not really dynamic, and you lose your children, that's when my piano department came. So we had to supplement that. But I think the biggest change over the years is just the electronics and the new gadgets and
So has
what
music
they expect
education
you-
gone up? Did the demand for it because of electronics or gone down? Would you have a thought about that? That's a big question, I know. We need,
I think it's stayed steady.
Yeah.
I think electronics just changed the game for a lot of people. Allowed a lot more access to people that didn't have access before. It's a real teaching tool that didn't exist before. Allowed teachers to be able to spread their time more across a large area of students versus just having to work with them one-on-one. And so that, our company, we've always kind of embraced technology. We don't shun it. And I think that's been a big change in why we've grown because like Tom talked about calling on the schools weekly and being in touch with them, that meant using the technology available so that they could get to us at a moment's notice and we can help solve that heart attack problem for the concert, that night. So I think just technology has changed the game dramatically.
it's helped you be a better business.
I believe it
sounds
has,
like it.
yeah.
And therefore, you can, yeah. And how about advocacy in your community? How do you sense that you are helping your schools support their program or understand the value of the program?
Well, we've been very fortunate. The Kansas City, Missouri general metro area school band and orchestra has been a very important part of the curriculum, and it has stayed there. And I know that that isn't the case in every community. But we have helped them help themselves in many ways, and reinvested some of our marketing dollars to help them, continue to grow their programs. And if they grow their programs, then it makes it that much more difficult as other, dealers that are out there understand. If they grow their programs, then it makes it that much more difficult for them to be pushed to the side or cut in any way.
Yeah, great programs are the best advocates.
Absolutely.
Right? So how have you helped them grow their programs? I really want to get inside there a little bit.
Well, we've done most of the traditional give back type things, the folders and the calendars and some of that. But more importantly, we've really helped with some marketing, giving them some marketing tools and some recruiting materials that then help them reach the parents, and we underwrite the cost of that. But interestingly enough, there is nothing on there at all about Meyer Music. And so if they are successful and maximize the percentage of students in band and orchestra, then in turn we benefit. But they feel like that we are partnering with them and we are helping them achieve their goals.
We really talk to our NAMM members awful lot about keeping marketing message is child-centered. You know, child-centered music benefit. Mitzi, I know you've been sitting on the edge of many of these questions. I'd really like to hear from you in any of these questions.
Oh, goodness.
What's your
when-
current role in the company? Let's start there.
My role in the company?
Yeah.
I am the youngest of 4 children, so there's 3 out of 4 of us in the business, and my sister is a teacher in local public school. I think, you know, it has changed so much since we all grew up in the business, obviously, all worked in the business. The second generation coming in has definitely grown a lot. You know, it used to just be the hometown Blue Springs store, and now it's, you know, 3 locations in the greater Kansas area. And it's just been interesting to me, just even in the 18 years, I guess, since I've had my location, how, I mean, there's a lot of it that's the same. You know, you have the road reps that go every week and do the things, but, you know, as we all know, the budgets become thinner. And also, I think that the kids have so many more choices of what they do, you know, so many more activities to choose from that we're competing against. And so I think, you know, we've been very proactive in trying to help the directors with the recruiting and promotional materials and you know, make them be able to have more opportunities to promote music. One of the things we've done that my oldest brother has been the brainchild of is we do a lot of T-shirts for summer music camps and the elementary kids in even their little singing groups, because they're starting at that elementary level and they're seeing that Meyer music on the back of the shirts, and so it kind of just reinforces that.
That
So.
you're really a part of the community, you're part of the fabric of it.
Yes,
And you're there to
definitely.
support music wherever it's happening. And then they
Absolutely.
hopefully come rushing into your door, right?
Another part of the T-shirt thing is that I think a lot of dealers think that all you do is just give the stuff to the teachers, but in a lot of cases, we've sponsored the T-shirt. They've allowed us to logo the T-shirt with our thing, but then they've also used that T-shirt as a sales item in a camp to be able to raise more money for the camp. So it really hits a dual purpose.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of a new focus that we've done recently, is trying to come up with fundraising activities for them to help raise money for their own programs. So.
I think this is such a great example of, you know, this important synergy that exists between school music and the resources that school music needs to thrive. Any final thoughts in terms of the music that's happening in your community? You said there's 2,500 students in your store every week? Between 22 and 2,500 kids coming to the private lessons. I mean, that's just a tremendous resource in a region where there's, you know, this is what they would rely on this for, these extra services.
And we also have our large recital halls.
And a recital hall, you don't have a mic, so I'm telling them everything you're telling. We want to hear what you're saying.
One of the things we started with the private lessons, that built the traffic in the store. But we have approximately 25 studios in each store, and we employ not only piano teachers, but we employ drum teachers, guitar teachers. We have 7 guitar teachers in our store. Now, we don't sell guitars, but we do the teaching. And my belief is that no matter how well they are exposed to music, they will at least know what it is, and it will help them throughout their life.
I think that's a great word to end on. Thank you. Well, please, Mr. Meyer. No, we don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, I was wishing that Mike would be able to tell you about the Band of Angels program where he actually gives instruments to.
Please do.
I think this is a good example of probably advocating while giving back and helping kids that are underprivileged at the same time. I was lucky enough to be approached by a local television station in Kansas City who knew that arts programs were being cut. They wanted to do something that would help, but they really didn't know what to do. And the original idea was come up with a fund, raise a lot of money. If a band needed new uniforms, they'd buy band uniforms. And I said, you know, I don't think you know 2 problems: how much it's going to cost how hard it's going to be to raise money, and 2, how expensive band uniforms are. But there's a lot of people who've been playing instruments for over, you know, the 40, 50 years that we've been in it that are sitting in the closet. They're not doing anything. So what could we do if we could get those people to bring them in? So we have all the connections within the schools, the background materials to get them to the kids in need. So we started a program 4 years ago thinking if we collected 50 instruments the first year, we would be doing good. In the last 4 years, we've collected 1,600 instruments.
Wow.
We've given out 900 instruments to kids in schools across 60 school districts in a 100-mile radius. So, and the thing that I love the most about it is it's instead of just taking a group and dropping them in a school and saying, here you go, figure it out, we've connected that instrument from that donor to that child. And I think not only is it a win for the kids in the schools because there's more kids in the programs, but I think it's a lot more effective that way. We've got a kid who's really interested, but they just can't get there, with an instrument. So that's been a great program. It's bandofangels.kc.org if anybody wants to look up the website and see what we've done, but great program.
Thank you so much for sharing all that you're doing for your community and being a great example for so many other NAMM members. Thank you. Thank you so much. Be careful. I'll take one of your mics. Be careful. We can't resist a chance to have a quick conversation with one of our most wonderful music education advocates, Bernie Williams. I think you're here somewhere. Come on up quick. Please say hello to Bernie Williams.
State representative.
Oh, you've got a mic. All right, well, now I'll give this to Eric.
School board member.
Hi, Bernie. Having fun at the NAMM show?
Yes,
Good.
always.
We don't get to hear you play this year, but we'll save that for another time, okay? But we wanted just to touch base with Bernie because he's doing something very interesting in his life these days. Because after a very important career in baseball with a little team called the New York Yankees and 4 World Series championships, you've decided to do what? Tell us what you're doing now.
I decided to go to music school. So I am assuming my bachelor's degree in jazz arts at the Manhattan School of Music in New York City.
You are a full-time student.
I am a full-time student.
You're a full-time
I had to
student.
take time off to come here, but I am
I know.
glad that I did.
I'll sign your permission slip, okay? You just let me know. I'll do it. I offered to do his theory homework for him, but that didn't go so well.
No, humanities.
No,
humanities.
humanities, okay. Anyway, I think this is really a very important thing that you're doing, and I think it tells all of us that you really value education, right? There's something, it's tough to do this at this time of life. Go back and learn music theory and harmony and ear training.
It is a little tough, but at the same time, I had the drive to do it because of my parents and my mother, who was the one that was the educator in the family. She spent 40 years in the public education system in Puerto Rico, and she was a visionary in the sense that she had us. She wanted to give us the best opportunities that she can afford, and the best thing that she could afford was to give us the best education that she could give us. And little that she knew that I was gonna develop this passion and love for music and sports, and I was gonna make them my, part of my essence and part of my, the way I make my living. But back when I was a kid, she said, well, the best, way that they can have a great education is incorporating arts, incorporating music, and incorporating sports in their, education, with science, with the math, with the, grammar, and everything. I think it was, one of the best things that they did for us, and never gave us the choice. You either have to be an athlete or you have to be a musician, or the one thing that she said, or that they said to us, was as long as you get good grades, you can do whatever you want, as long as it's legal, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, all kidding aside, it was great for us, at least for me. I have another brother, he's 1 year younger than I. He's a lawyer in Puerto Rico, but he's also a cellist. To me, music was this way of it's very hard to explain, although Dr. Cross did a great
Wasn't
job
that pretty cool? It was
explaining
amazing,
it. You know,
yeah.
and a lot
You
of
didn't
things
know that
make
was
sense for
going
me
on.
right now. They're starting to make sense. But I was able to make those connections early on in life, you know, about how the world works, you know, the rhythm and the sound and the speech and all those things that I was able to connect with through music early on.
You know, Bernie is really becoming a kind of official advocate with NAMM, going with us to Washington, D.C. And not only are you devoting yourself to serious study, and you play beautifully, and you know, you play beautifully. But he's also addressing, you know, that thing that we live with in the States, especially, that you have to choose between sports and music.
Yeah.
And that somehow, you know, you're either that or you're that. And I think that, you know, you've written a book called The Rhythm of the Game.
Rhythms of the Game,
Yeah,
yes.
and it talks about, you know, really how these facilities coexist in every person.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely, yeah.
right, and it's really been a part of your kind of your self-awareness too, as you've come through all of
Yeah.
this. You never stopped playing when you were a baseball player, right?
No, I never stopped playing. I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old. I took lessons with my neighborhood teacher, and then I had an opportunity to go in my freshman year in high school to performing arts high school. And that's where I really, really cemented my passion for music, and I was able to utilize the knowledge that I had in music and apply it to all kinds of things in my life, especially my training in sports, you know, the kind of discipline that requires you to stay, you know, night after night and spend hours and hours playing scales and arpeggios, and the reward that you get when you get a piece of music and you get it under your fingers and you have, you know, control over it, and you can play it in front of an audience and deal with the pressure and the anxiety of performing. All of that stuff I was able to, you know, relate it to sports and hitting in front of 50,000 people in
Or
Yankee
when they
Stadium.
said you got to hit 100 times this way, and then you got to hit 100 times.
Yes.
Bernie was a switch hitter,
Yes,
right?
he
I mean,
hit it
that
to both
took
sides of the plate.
that took a lot of practice.
Discipline and perseverance and
Right.
not dwelling on your mistakes and really having the drive and that goal-oriented, very intense personality.
So Bernie will go back with us to Washington in May this year.
Yes.
And tell us what the spring holds for you in terms of performances or
Well,
you
I'll
know.
be a part of various groups in Manhattan School of Music. I had this wonderful experience last year. I was able to play with Mr. Randy Weston in the big band setting. It was the first time for me playing guitar in a big band. First thing they said, I mean, I've been so used to playing in open mic jams and blues and places like that. The first thing the conductor said, well, you're too loud. You have to turn your amp down a little bit.
Blend in.
Yeah, just blend in with the band. But it was a great experience, and to be able to be exposed to this kind of things, you know, at this point in my life, it's just a great thing.
We're so thrilled that you're part of our world, Bernie. We just can't tell
I
you.
am very glad to be here too.
Yeah, and you know, we just want you to jam with us for as long as we're jamming.
Oh,
all right?
Well, this
Okay.
show is awesome. I mean, I figure at this rate, it's going to take me 20 years to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
little by little,
Yeah.
making way.
Yeah. Please thank Bernie for being with
Thank
us. Thanks. Thanks so much. Okay.
My name is Eric Abel. I'm with the NAMM Foundation. For this next segment, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the publisher of MMR and School Band and Orchestra magazine, Mr. Terry
haven't
Lowe.
seen you.
Please give it up.
How are you?
Thanks. I would like to thank NAMM for allowing me to be here and to present our Don Johnson Award at this gathering. It's a very fitting place because Don Johnson spent better than 2 decades of being involved in the music industry, musical instrument industry. He really was a great advocate for music education, and after his passing several years ago, MMR put together the Don Johnson Award, and it's went to a variety of different luminaries within the industry. Well, this year, our honoree is Mary Lurson, and we did a different track in determining who's going to win the award this year. We put together a advisory board of industry luminaries that voted and convened and met online and determined that Mary was certainly a worthy honoree. Because music advocacy is not a non-contact sport. You have to be in the trenches, and you have to be out there making things happen. And Mary is the one that's been able to do this for so many years. So we put together a little presentation about Mary, and we'd like to share that with you now. Let's take a look.
One of today's most passionate, effective advocates for music making and music education, Mary Lurson has directly impacted, for the better, the lives of so many who participate in, support, or simply appreciate the culture of music in contemporary American society. A former professional flutist, a veteran music teacher, and currently the executive director of the NAMM Foundation, hers has been a life shaped and defined by a love of the positive impact that music can have on individuals and communities. And it all started on a farm in a tiny Wisconsin town.
Well, I was born in a small town, and I live in a small town.
I grew up on a farm just outside Loganville, Wisconsin, pretty off the grid in terms of access to cultural experiences. As a small, insular community, music in school and church was a big part of my life and was a gift my mother gave me and my family, Lurson explains. As a piano teacher and church choir director, Mary's mom was keenly aware of the powerful benefits to learning and appreciating music and strove to share those benefits with her children. Young Lurson was drawn to the flute, and, as she describes it, my first flute lesson still runs like a movie in my head. When my teacher opened the flute case, I was in awe. Playing the flute was just central to all the important things I did in school and beyond. In addition to studying the flute, while in primary and secondary school, Mary participated in band, choir, and orchestra, as well as attending music camps and workshops. About as fully immersed in music scholarship and performance as a young musician could be. Lurson then attended Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin, where she continued to study flute in addition to music education, doing 3 tours of duty as a student teacher. She later majored in music education at Syracuse University, New York, Buffalo, before embarking on her dual career as professional flutist and music educator. From college days forward, I put together the holy triad of musician sustainability, she says: private teaching, school teaching, and gigging. And I did this for 20 years.
And I'm singing Mary, oh Mary, don't you weep, tell nothing.
Eventually, Mary's path found her serving as an independent consultant, advising corporate and nonprofit clients in the areas of fundraising and strategic planning. As National Program Officer for the Texaco Foundation, she led the organization's Early Notes program, geared towards supporting early childhood music education initiatives. Working with Joe Lamont during his last year as NAMM's Market Development Director, and as he segued to his current position as President and CEO, proved pivotal to Mary's life and career. The two had first met when NAMM and Texaco both funded the Music Works project at Sesame Street and had developed a mutual respect and friendship. With the sale of Texaco to Chevron and Lamont's appointment as NAMM president, Lurson found herself taking stock of her own situation. It became clear to me that the music education funding and visibility goals that were part of the Texaco Foundation were not going to carry over to the new company, and I was at a crossroads, she recalls. Could my commitment to music education and capacities in philanthropy, policy, advocacy, and government relations be relevant? That question has been answered in bold, irrefutable fashion in the year since Mary Lurson joined as a senior executive with NAMM in 2001. Through her work as director of the NAMM Foundation, She and her team have helped support a number of music research initiatives that reinforce the importance of music education and inform policy decisions that impact the lives of students and parents across the country. Similarly, Mary spearheaded the now annual NAMM Fly-In to Washington, D.C., during which association members meet with members of Congress and directly advocate for support of music education. To a person, once information and experience in direct advocacy go up, our NAMM members are brilliant at this, Mary says. Now, our members who are turned on by this process are carrying their competencies into their states and local communities. They are building networks and action locally. I imagine a time when every NAMM member has an annual plan for advocacy that involves their own professional development, their staff's management, and participation in advocacy by leading or participating in state and local networks. Just think how many more kids we could pull into making music. Mary Lurson may exist somewhat more behind the scenes than other individuals, but none have exerted more positive influence, benefiting the MI industry, music teachers, students, school programs, and communities. Since her first lesson and seeing that flute case open for the first time, Mary has never forgotten what it means to have the chance to experience the power of music, and she has made it her life's work to share that feeling with as many as desire it. Mary, no doubt, describes her personal mission best, saying, "Essentially, my work every day seeks to assure that every kid has that chance, that moment when a real instrument becomes yours."
Come on, guys. Thank you, Terry.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much.
And
Really nice.
very deserving.
Oh, thank you. Come on, guys. Come here, Terry. Terry, come up.
No.
Right.
Paparazzi.
Oh, paparazzi, right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Terry and MMR. And, you know, it's really, it was a little bit of a rough orchestration to run the meeting and then, you know, get an award. So thank you for all understanding. And yes, that really was me with that calf. And that really was me on that tractor. But that wasn't my mom directing the choir, but that's okay. It's just so you know. But I wanted to also come up with my terrific team from Public Affairs, who does you know, all the heavy lifting of what we do with all of our programs. A special thanks also to Joe Lamont for believing in this work and supporting it all the time, our wonderful NAMM board and our great NAMM members. And most importantly, the work that we have to carry on every day. So your thanks and your recognition just, you could say, makes us stronger. And we really thank you, and thanks to all of you, and have a great NAMM show. And to the rest of you on the website, we'll see you next Friday, a live Support Music Community Forum webcast from Smith River, California. The beat goes on. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Wave goodbye. Wave goodbye to the webcast. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Thank you very much. Just a couple quick housekeeping announcements for those of you in the room. Just a reminder that the Best Communities for Music Education survey ends next Friday. Mary mentioned the Smith River Community Forum. The Best Communities for Music Education ends on that day. So if you're in the last throes of getting your surveys completed, do that this week so you can get the recognition that your program deserves. Later today, the Sandy Feldstein Industry Roundtable will meet in this room at 4 o'clock. And then tomorrow morning, don't miss Richard Gerver, TED Talk extraordinaire author, will talk about music education as it relates to his theory of change and leveraging that change. Have a great day. Have a great tomorrow. Thank you so much.